Okay, let's get started with installing our Cacti on our Rocky Linux 9. So we're going to start by putting in the development tools. Now the development tools are quite a large install. So to make this happen, I'm going to actually pause recording while it installs and updates this, so that you don't have to sit here and wait for all these items to go through. So I'm gonna step out and get a cup of coffee and I'll be right back. All right, so that's done. We've finished installing the development tools. Now we'll install NetSMP and NetSMP utils and RRD tool, which is used by Cacti. Okay, now that that's done, we will install the PHP extensions required by Cacti. Okay. Okay, so now we want to edit the PHP INI file, and there's a few settings here that we need to update. And to find them, you want to use Control W, and then you want to search for the first one is the date time zone. And it kind of can get it. So you want to see it's right there. And you want to type America if you're in America and your city. And then we want to do that again for the memory limit. And you just type memory underscore limit. And it will take you to it. And in the case of memory limit, we want to change to 300. And then finally, for the max execution time, we type Control W again, and we want to search for max execution. I think we should get to it. No, search was wrapped. So max execution time, and right there, 300. So we're done. We'll modify the buffer and hit enter. So we're done. Now, the next piece that we have to do is we want to enable one of these extensions that we downloaded, and it's php-fpm. And then we want to confirm that it's up and running. And as we can see, it's up and running. Next, we want to go to our database, and we need to log into it. And in our database, we now need to create the Cacti database. And we have to create it first, so then we can import it from later on. Next, we want to create a user for the Cacti database, and we want to put in a password. Now, in my case here, I'm using just strong DB password. I know we wouldn't do that in production. Next, we want to flush privileges, and then we want to exit from the database. Now, we need to modify the database because there are a series of settings that we need in order to make Cacti work with MySQLD. And I'm going to pause here real fast. Okay, I pause to grab a bunch of these items so I can just paste it in here for easier, so I'm not back and forth. So there we go. Now, if you don't know your database, MySQL or MariaDB, most of this is pretty straightforward. The areas that it can get a little different is between the join buffer and the sort buffer. And these two I've done many times, so hopefully I set that correctly. And let's see. Yeah, we're in here. So we'll write that out and we'll go from there. Now, in order to get these settings into our server, we need to restart Maria so that it's up and running. Now, this is the fun part. This is where we start installing Cacti. So we're going to first create and go into a directory called Cacti. Next, we're going to download and get ready the latest version of Cacti. And once that finishes downloading, which it just did, we're going to back out a little bit, and then we are going to take and copy that Cacti folder to our web server folder. Next, we are going to take and import into Cacti the database file. Or we're going to import into MariaDB the actual SQL database. Sorry. And that's that password. Next, we're going to set up our time zone information. You may get an error here. It's normal because we don't do leap seconds, and I don't know why that's there. So finally, we're down to the actual, got to log into the database. We are going to grant the Cacti user access to the time zone. We are going to then also update the database and flush privileges and finally exit from the database. So we're almost there. Next, we're going to configure SE Linux, the bane of all Linux systems, but everything's security, 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 right? So once we've done that, we need to restart both HTTPD or Apache and PHP FPM. And the next piece, this threw me off the very first time, if you notice. So Cacti ships as this distribution file. So if it doesn't happen on you, then great, but you need to copy it and then convert it to the actual running config. Next, we need to edit that config PHP file. And in here, we need to input the Cacti database user. So it's, in my case, it's Cacti and the password. And the password here is strong DB password. And pretty much the rest of it stays the same. So I'm going to close and save. Finally, in order to get Cacti running, there's a file called log, and this needs to be created, otherwise Cacti will have problems. Next, we need to have Apache own and run. So as you can see there, we now have, let me do this. As you can see, I added the ownership to Apache. Next, we need to create a cron job and have Apache run as cron. And we want to add this Okay, so that's the actual cron job. Now you can do this through Webmin, but next I'm going to exit cron. So we're back to there. Now the only thing left to do is go to Cacti. So give me 1 second here. And because I have this on a server, I don't have DNS for this just yet. I'm just going to go to the IP address. And there's a default user ID and password, which is admin admin. It's going to ask me to change. That's fine. I will input the original, and then I will make this and I might point out that the Cacti group has, increased the security around this. You just can't make it some lame password anymore. Um, Now, this is where this is a good sign we've gotten to here and that we've installed 1.2.24, which is this time frame is the current version. So I like the classic version because I've been using this tool for a long time, and I like the old version. I don't like the new version, but some people do. So maybe somebody can convert and tell me to go do the new way. So finally, it's going to go through and say, okay, hey, there's these items. So I need to increase to 400, it says here, for the memory limit. Now, I can do that by and going back to here, and it's saying that the memory limit in PHP AINI, so we want to go, where was that? Okay. So it's saying it wants this to be 400. I'll update my notes. Let's see if that's fixed now. So if I go previous and I go back, so it still wants me to reboot. So I will do that and we'll go from here. Okay, I rebooted. Let's see if it accepts that. Yay, I have all the pre-installations. So we can continue. This is a new primary server. So in another video, I will maybe make it how to set up a remote puller, but on like a Raspberry Pi. Anyways, I'm going to hit next. There's potential issues, nothing, everything looks good. Everything here looks good. Now we did install RD 1.8, but we can stay here. I'll hit next. I have read and I see all that, so I'll hit next. We do want to change this to 1 minute. Now, the cool thing, you can set it up to 30 seconds, but we're 1 minute and the cron is set already to 1. For my network range, I'll just make this and leave that as is. You could set this to whatever you'd like for your scan mode later on. Something's not right. Let's see. Ah, I see what the problem is. A little bit of a typo there. Okay, so I'm going to hit next. I just leave these settings default. Yeah, you have to agree to this, so just, you're fine with it. And it's just letting you know that it's going to change that and update it. And I'm going to confirm installation. and it goes pretty quick. I will let this pause. All right, it finished 100% for the installation. And now, voila, we have a Cacti server. You should be able to go here and we'll see the default tree and we have the local box. As you can see, we don't have any data, but we're set to 1 minute. So I will maybe change the view here. Let's see if we can get any data in real time. And there we go. We have a polling and working local copy of cacti. In the next video, I'll build out Spine, which is a fast poller for cacti. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.